Alright, 97.7 Outlaw Radio FM listeners, we are live in full effect right here, right now, and we got the legendary DJ Chill Will of the Get Fresh crew live on the line. How are you doing this evening?
Hey, what's happening? What's happening, man? Everything's good.
I gotta say, first and foremost, man, I have been a fan of your work for a long time, man, so thank you so much for just giving us a little bit of your time this evening and coming on the radio station.
Oh, no problem, man. I appreciate it. Thank you.
You are most certainly welcome, but I know you're a busy guy, so I'm going to dive right into this interview, but I have to ask you, man, taking you back to the very beginning, like, what actually inspired and sparked the legendary career of DJ Chill Will?
Well, it was actually a DJ that really didn't really, like, go, like, far like everybody, like most people did. It was a guy named Artie that used to DJ in the projects over in Foster Projects. He was the first DJ I ever saw with my own eyes. I've heard Flash, I've heard Theodore, I've heard DJs, but I never saw any of it. He was the first DJ I saw with my own eyes do something on two turntables and a mixer. And right at that moment, I said, I want to do that. That's what I want to do. Now, making a career of it, I hadn't thought about all of that stuff, but I knew I wanted to do that.
And I gotta ask as well, did you ever have the opportunity to actually collaborate with him, or was that just something was that as an individual you saw growing up that really inspired you?
That was the person that inspired me growing up. But, you know, as I got into it, I was nowhere near on his level, so he would have looked at me like a little kid trying to, you know, maybe, I don't know, but, you know, I never really got a chance to even meet him. You know, I've never met him, but I talk about him every time I do an interview. I always talk about him because he's the first person I saw DJ.
And also as well, you were actually one of the founding members of the legendary Get Fresh crew. I was wondering if you could tell our listeners the story behind that crew, and of course, how did you actually meet the other members alongside Dougie Fresh?
I met Doug. Me and Doug met in high school. We went to the same high school together, and a guy named Mike Sharp introduced us. He said, there's somebody, he said, yo, I know somebody that would be good for you, and I know somebody that you would be good for. He said, let me put y'all two together, and what happens with it, happens with it. He said, you know, I'm just going to just make the introduction. So he brought me down to the end of the lunchroom, where Doug was banging on the table and rhyming and doing all this stuff with a whole crowd around him, and he introduced us. And then pretty much the introduction was just like, then I see Doug in the hallway, and we would speak and be like, hey, what's up, man, what's up? Then we started talking. And the next thing you know, we realized we live around the same neighborhood. So we started hanging out together. And then from there, it just became a friendship, you know, and then we started doing music together and doing a whole bunch of other stuff together. Then we had a friend named Pop. Pop is the guy that said, because we was into music, me and Doug were into music, but we had no equipment. We had no way to make music, do anything, do tapes, practice, whatever we needed to do. We had no way to do that because I didn't have any equipment, neither did he. So Pop introduced us to a guy named Barry B, who was in another group called Devastating 3. And we used to go to Barry's house with Devastating 3 and all practice up there, make tapes up there, get ourselves together up there. And I got sharpened by Barry because Barry was so good. You know, so that's how we met. That's how we ended up meeting Barry. And we would stay at Barry's house hours and hours and hours practicing, you know. And that was his drive, too. So it all worked out together with us all because we all were kind of in the same place. And we all had the same passion. So it worked out for us good. Then we went, me and Doug went to a MC contest in the Bronx, where we saw Slick Rick. That's where we saw Slick Rick. He won this MC contest that he was in with some friend of ours, with my friend Dandy Dawn. He was actually in the group with him, who I became friends with Donald later, you know, after Rick, not knowing that he was that person. But that's how we all met. And then Doug brought Rick to my house, where it's the first time we ever heard Lottie Dottie. Rick did Lottie Dottie in my house off of a drum machine. That's the first time we ever heard it. And we started going out doing stuff together, and we became the Get Fresh crew, the four of us.
And I gotta ask as well, when you first heard Lottie Dottie, did you think it was gonna be a hit when you first heard it, or what was your guys' thoughts on it when you first heard him actually create that song?
Lottie Dottie was never meant to be a record. Lottie Dottie was a rhyme that Rick had, and we just did it live whenever we went out, because before we made records, we performed all the time. But Rick used to do Lottie Dottie in the show. We put that in our show, and we did it constantly. But when we actually went in the studio to make a record, we never thought about making Lottie Dottie a record. Our manager came up with that idea. He's the one that said, y'all should put that thing that y'all do live on record. Let's put that on the B-side of the show. And that's what we ended up doing, and it was phenomenal.
And also,
we could have actually made those two different records, but, who knew at that time?
And I gotta say as well, it sounded like it was a phenomenal choice to actually put that on the B-side, man, because that song is an absolute hit even today.
Right. But when we had it done, we could have put the show out and then put Lottie Dottie out behind it as two different records, because we took a long time to come out with an album, because the record was so big that we performed. We went out on two different tours, so it took us out for like a year and some change before we came back and actually started to record an album. So we kind of lost the momentum of that song, with our album. Because most people put out a single, if it hit, you put out an album right behind it. But we took a year and some change to come out with an album.
And also as well, Dougie Fresh and the Get Fresh crew actually was the first hip-hop group to actually travel to Africa. And I have to ask you as well, like, what was that experience like, of course, being the very first hip-hop group to actually to go out to Africa? And of course, what was it like going along with Stevie Wonder? Because I read as well that Stevie Wonder was with you guys.
Right. It was an amazing trip. I mean, we were there for 10 days. And we actually only did 2 shows, but we were there for 10 days, and it was just because at that time, I was 21 years old, and I'm stepping foot in Africa, like from making music. It's not like we were, ambassadors or something and was going to Africa to do anything. We did this from making music. And it was just an incredible experience. And we went around Christmas time, and that was the first time I ever experienced a December Christmas in, 101 degrees on Christmas Day, So it was an incredible experience. We met so many musicians that we are still friends with today. And, it was the first time meeting Stevie Wonder, who we actually became friends with also. And it was just and this is when before MTV and BET and all these different cable and all, so they weren't as up to date on a lot of stuff as they are now, because, everybody's connected now because everything comes on in the same time frame and everybody's pretty much on the same page right now. But back then, it wasn't like that. So while we're doing these songs hadn't even reached there yet. They never even heard these songs before, but we got on and did it, and I think the energy that we created gave them they had a good time. Everybody had a good time, because we changed our show based on where we are. So we kind of did something that would work there, where it was kind of more of a party atmosphere. And we just did what we had to do, but it was an amazing experience. Amazing.
And going back to the Christmas part of things here for a moment, I'm actually really curious. Out in Africa, do they actually celebrate Christmas kind of like us North Americans do, or is it a completely different culture over there?
Nah, Christmas was something that we knew, and we're in the hotel was the only place you saw anything Christmas. That's from what I've seen. When we were there, only place we saw something, they had a little tiny Christmas tree sitting on the desk in the hotel. But other than that, there was no lights and music and Christmas carols. There was none of that. We saw none of that.
And also as well, November 6th of 1982, and I know I'm going way back with this one, but you guys actually performed at the Eclipse roller rink in Brooklyn. And I was wondering if you could tell our listeners that never really experienced a roller rink, what was it like actually just performing at that particular venue?
Well, back then it was different for us because we didn't have any songs. We were actually just performing routines. It was more just doing stuff that we did made up in the house and stuff. We had no records to do. And at a roller rink, you perform in the middle part of the rink, and people are not skating at that point. They turned it into a party at that point. For maybe like an hour before we get on, you have to take your skates off. And then the people come on the floor. and then it turns into just like any other stage, basically. So it was that kind of thing. So we've been doing this for a long time, and we did it before we had records out. And performing at Eclipse, we did Eclipse, we did the Rink, we did a whole bunch of roller rinks. We did Rooftop, all of these roller rinks, but it's the same thing. Right before you perform, people take the skates off. They don't skate while you perform.
I was actually thinking the same thing, because I know some people, they might like get reckless or something and bump into you guys when you're performing or whatnot. That's why I was saying, when you said it was in the middle of things, I was going to be like, man, what if someone bumps into you guys while performing?
It's up high. Like, so you stand up maybe about, you're about 8 feet off the ground. So in the middle where the DJ is. So people are not skating either. So that's make all the difference.
And also, as well, in 1986, the album "Oh My God" was released. I have to ask you, what's the story and inspiration behind that phenomenal record?
It was that album was. That's what I was explaining earlier. Is that took a year and some change to do, because we were gone. We did a tour we were on 3 different tours off of one single. So we were gone for so long that we never got a chance to really do the album. We never really got a chance to put the time into it, to do it fast enough to come out with the momentum of the show. So we waited till we had to stop performing, go do the album, and we were just taking songs we were putting together on the bus on the tour. We started putting songs together and doing them, and the first song we came out with was All the Way to Heaven, which was the first rap dedication to God, and we came out with that song, and then we just kept going from there.
And also, jumping ahead into the 2000s, in 2003, you actually started your own record label called Chilltown Entertainment. I was wondering if you can tell our listeners a bit more about that label, and of course, who is currently signed to you today, if that label is still running.
Well, it wasn't actually a label. It was more of a production company where I just produce music for different people, and I was one of the people in the neighborhood where I felt like if you needed to give back, so all the people that grew up in my neighborhood, people that I was friends with, they could all come to my house and record for nothing. I never charged anybody for anything. I had a full studio in my house, and I just let people come and perform, and the only thing that I asked is that if you took something and you went somewhere and you got a deal, or you did anything with it, or it turned into something, you just pay it back. You know what I'm saying? You just come and say, hey, I got a deal. I want you a part of my deal, blah, blah, blah. And it was a handshake. I never really signed no paperwork or nothing. So it was based on, hey, if you do it, you do it. If you don't do it, you don't do it. But I felt like I've been blessed, and I wanted to pass those blessings on to other people. So I let a lot of different people come into I let a lot of people in my house, and do songs. So Chilltown Entertainment it started out as a production company, and then I have a booking agency now. So now I book so many different people, and I book a whole lot of talent for a whole lot of different events. I don't know if you've seen a show that comes on called Pass the Mic with DJ Cassidy. I booked for that. And that got picked up by BET.
Okay, I have actually watched that. I actually did not know you actually booked for those individuals.
Yes, I booked for Cassidy for Pass the Mic. So I book everybody now. It started out as me doing bookings for the people that I knew, because a lot of people change their numbers and people leave a lot of money on the table. And I was like, yo, y'all leaving a lot of money here because people can't reach you. So we needed to set up something, and it was me and 2 other road managers that were supposed to do it, but we never kind of got together to do it, so I ended up doing it by myself. And we did it, and I started booking just the people that I knew, like the people that were in our genre, the Houdinis, the Chub Rocks, the Slick Ricks, those people, the people that were, and it just blew up and expanded to where I started booking some of everybody. I mean, I've booked Earth, Wind & Fire. I've booked so many people. Now I'm just booking everybody.
And also in 2004, I actually read that you were a part of Shock G's album Fear of a Mixed Planet. I was wondering, how did yourself and the late great Shock G get connected, and what was it like working on that project with him?
I didn't really work on it and it was kind of like an in and out thing. Like we didn't. I know Shock G. I knew Shock G very well. Like we were friends, because we see each other on the road all the time. But that was mostly Doug. Doug mostly did the stuff with that. I was kind of basically just the person to say, this is just an introduction or just to get it started. And that was really all my involvement in it.
And I just got to say, rest in paradise to him, because I got to say, that was a big blow to hip-hop this year. I wasn't even expecting that one to happen.
Yes, indeed. Mm-hmm. Definitely rest in power, man. To Black Rob, to DMX, and we just lost Ronnie Green. I don't know if you knew Captain Rock, but he was like from back in the day. He just passed away, so just rest in power to all of them. We lost some big ones.
I heard about Ronnie as well. I wasn't quite sure if that one actually was true, though, because I only saw it from one news source. So I just want to say rest in paradise to him as well.
A lot of people didn't know he was the DJ for Jekyll and Hyde, which was Andre Harrell, He was actually their DJ.
I actually did not know that, so I'm glad you actually brought that up. Now individuals that do listen that don't know, they can actually kind of have that little bit of information just to carry on with them.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And also as well, aside from booking shows, doing music and DJing, you were actually a radio DJ as well, alongside Dougie Fresh at WBLS. I was wondering if you can tell our listeners a bit more about your radio show, and of course, how and when can we actually tune in and check you guys out live on the air?
Well, we had a radio show called The Show, and it came on BLS, and it was on from 9 to 11 on WBLS on Saturday nights, and we did hip-hop in a way like most people don't, because in our show, we had other DJs, like I would DJ, Barry B would DJ, we would bring in guest DJs, Hollywood has DJ'd on there, a bunch of different people have DJ'd on there, and then we would play snippets from old school tapes, like we played the Cold Crush, Fantastic Battle, we played the Busy Bee Mo D battle, just snippets from different things that people would never really hear today, unless you have gotten any of this stuff from the past. This is stuff you would never hear. This is like the chronicles of hip-hop before records, and we would play different, maybe 15 minutes of each little piece every Saturday night. And that was our show, and we did it we did it the best we could for the time, because Saturday nights is our nights to go out. Like we work on the weekends, and after a while, it started becoming where we have to kind of choose one or the other. Like we either going to do work, go out and work, or do the radio show, and we had to just let the radio show go because this is our livelihood. Where we go out and work and do shows, and that's what you got. We're passionate about it all, but the shows is really our thing, because that's always been our number one passion.
And that right there is completely understandable as well, you know what I mean? Sometimes you got to look at, at the end of the day, what is going to pay your bills, right? So it's completely understandable.
Right, and it became conflicting, because there were nights where we couldn't make it, or it'd be nights where it's somebody else on there and you didn't know it was coming. It was because we had a show that came up or something. So it started to become, we didn't want it to be where it's so messy and so sloppy by the time you leave that it wasn't even worth it, So we just said, let's bow out gracefully and let somebody else take this spot on the show, and then we'll just move on and do what we got to do, And DJ Scratch actually took that spot.
And I got to say that's actually a great, in my personal opinion, that's a great DJ to actually take over as well. Like, have you actually listened to his show actually since he took it over?
Yes, I listen to it all the time. So and Scratch is great. I love Scratch. He's a friend of mine. So Scratch is that dude, and he took over the show and took it to a whole nother level.
But I gotta ask you as well, what is next for the legendary DJ Chill Will? I know you have such a huge, lengthy career, and I couldn't touch base on all of it, of course, during this broadcast, because we would be here all night long. But I have to ask you, is there anything I happen to miss, man? Anything else you still want to talk about or promote? Or we still have you here live on the Canadian airwaves?
Not really. I mean, we basically covered a lot of stuff. I mean, there's a lot of stuff we can continue to talk about, but I think we're pretty good right now. I just want to keep. I love doing this. I enjoy it. I have a great time doing it. I'm very passionate about it. So I want to continue to do what I do until I can't do it no more. So this is my thing here. And we only do it for money because we have to pay bills. But if we didn't have to pay bills, I would still do it because that's how we started. When we started, I lived with my mother, and I was doing this still for no money. I would continue to do it if I didn't have to keep my lights on. It wouldn't be about money if I didn't have to eat.
And I gotta ask you, man, just speaking of that, like, do you find that being in the music industry is harder today with, like, the technology? Or, because obviously with, like, Spotify paying you, like, cents and whatnot, or was it harder actually back in the day when everyone was trying to shop for a deal?
I think it's a little bit of both. I think one way, you get something out of it one way, and then you get something out of it the other way. Like, it was hard back in the days because you had to find somebody who would sign you, somebody who would like your music. You had to bring it. You had to actually physically walk to meetings and take the train or take a cab or go to a meeting and sit in a meeting for somebody to listen to your stuff and tell you they like it, they don't like it, this kind of stuff. Now it's a lot easier to do, but I think the part that I love about today for me is that you can own everything that you have. You can say, this is my record label, and everything I do with this music comes to me. There is no person that I have to pay for this, I have to pay for that. I can do everything myself. I can get my music out there. I can send it out. I can put it on. If you like it, if it wins, like if I sold 100 streams of a song, that's all my money. So imagine if I sold 10,000, or like the way records would go platinum, and you sell, a million streams or something, and that's all yours. I mean, I don't think that you can beat that because that's all you. You ain't got to worry about nobody saying you gave me a crazy contract. You ain't got to worry about nobody saying you took money from me, you stole money from me. I'm not getting the money I'm supposed. If you don't get the money you're supposed to get, that's because you did that to yourself.
Got to say that is most definitely
true. That's what I love. Mm-hmm.
But also, Chill Will, this is the time in the interview, man, quickly, right before I wrap things up, that I give a chance for the individual that does slide into the radio station airwaves, just a chance to give shout-outs to whomever they want to give shout-outs to, but most of all, your social media handles. That way our listeners can follow you and stay updated. Everything DJ Chill Will, if they're not already doing so.
You can follow me at The Real DJ Chill Will. That's my IG, at The Real DJ Chill Will. I'm just Chill Will on Facebook, and The Real DJ Chill Will. Well, I'm trying to think of on Twitch. I'm DJ Chill Will on Twitch. So Twitch DJ Chill Will on Facebook, and The Real DJ Chill Will on Instagram. I gotta fix all that where everything is the same thing, but that's what it is for now.
And I gotta say, Chill, thank you so much, man, for just taking the time out of your busy evening, man, and sliding into the radio station airwaves. Like I said, I've been a fan of yours for a long time. You actually inspired me as well to be a DJ, man. So I just gotta say thank you for inspiring not only myself, but just thousands upon thousands of individuals worldwide, man. And I'm looking forward to more projects in the future as well.
I appreciate it, man. Thank you. I'm glad to be here, man. I'm glad. Thank you for the call, and thank you for letting me share myself with your listeners. I appreciate it.
You are most certainly welcome, Chill Will, and thank you so much again. But I gotta say, have yourself a wonderful night out there, and hopefully down the line we can make this happen again sometime soon.
Definitely. Just call me anytime.
Most definitely. Same goes for you as well.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Have yourself a great night.
All right, you too. Bye-bye.